Today is 15th July. Today is 15th July 2024. Other days we are discussing about an effort. We know now that effort is indispensable in taming and calming this fickle and ever-changing mind. Effort is quite important in the practice to arouse mindfulness as well as concentration and wisdom by noting the presently arising objects. If we are able to note the objects applying energy, mindfulness arises. When there is mindfulness, there also arises concentration. Today, to talk about concentration. Concentration is samadhi in Pali, and the word samadhi is simply translated as concentration. But it is defined as the state of mind being calm and steady on the object. So when samadhi is present, the mind is very calm, still, steady, and undistracted. It is concentrated on the object. It is settled on the object. The mind is not dispersed and dissipated. So samadhi is also called ekagata. It is the one-pointedness of wholesome mind. Shana, when we note any objects, the noting mind is a wholesome mind. And concentration associated with this wholesome mind and other mental factors is samadhi, concentration, and this is right concentration. And here we are developing the right concentration if we can note the objects. So the right concentration is needed to see the true natures of the objects. What are the natures of samadhi concentration? Samadhi has the nature of not dispersed or not dissipated. That means the mind is not diffuse. The mind is not restless. It is steady and still on the object of observation. When there is no concentration, the mind is always traveling wherever it wants. It is distracted, dispersed, and dissipated. But samadhi concentration does not let its associated dhammas disperse and dissipated, and this is the characteristic of concentration. So what does samadhi do? What is the function of samadhi? Samadhi has the function of unifying the mind on its object. Samadhi is the centering of the mind and mental factors rightly and evenly on an object. So samadhi collects the dispersed and dissipated stream of mental states. It brings the mind and mental factors together on the object. That is what called unifying the mind on its object. So it unifies the mind and mental states on the objects. In the absence of samadhi, the mind and mental factors would spread all over. They would scatter. They would not be remained collected on the object. An analogy is given here is that a water collecting all the particles of wheat flour together. In preparing dough, we add water in wheat flour and knead it. The water gathers all the particles of wheat flour together, or it unifies wheat flour. So samadhi is like the water here. It too brings all the mind and mental factors together on the object of observation. Because of this unification, the mind is now still, steady, and undistracted on the object. It stabilizes the mind. The mind is undisturbed and settled. As a result, the mind becomes calm and peaceful. So whoever has developed this concentration, he experiences calmness and peacefulness in his mind. That is the manifestation of samadhi. Manifestations how a meditator experiences or feels or understands it. Here, calm and peaceful, because concentration eliminates distractions and unites the associated dhammas. At this time, the mind is not scattering, not flapping, not wandering. An analogy given here is lighting a candle inside a closed room. When a candle is lit inside the closed room, the candle light will be very still and calm. It is not flickering and it is unruffled by any breeze. So too, when is present in the mind, it becomes very still and calm. No happiness is there. One experiences very peaceful. When a candlelight is still and calm, its light also would be bright and still, and one can see the things around there very clearly. In the same way, when the mind is calm and still, a meditator now experiences that he sees the objects clearly. The nature of the objects becomes apparent. This is also another manifestation of samadhi concentration. Concentration supports wisdom. So a meditator manifests that because of concentrated mind, he sees the objects distinctly. Concentration can settle the mud and dirt of the mind. A pot of muddy water lives inside the closed room untouched. Then moths settle down and clean water would be on top. And there is no ripples on the surface of water as there is no breeze at all. The water is still and one can see the substances under the pot clearly. So too, concentrated mind helps to discern the objects clearly. That is why the Buddha said, Samahito yatha bhutang pajanati. One who is concentrated discerns the objects as it is. He will come to know about the individual natures of mind and body. He comes to discern about the common characteristics of anicca, dukkha, and anatta, impermanence, dissatisfaction, and non-self natures of those mind and body. And he develops other insight knowledges. Unconcentrated mind moves in a scattered manner. So the Buddha compares the scattered mind to the flapping about of a fish taken from the water and thrown onto dry land. A fish taken out of the water and thrown out onto dry place won't be able to stay still. It would be flapping constantly. So too, the mind overwhelmed by worries, fears, dissatisfaction, anxiety, and so on, is distracted. It is constantly prey to the defilements. The mind is distorted by the ripples of random thoughts. On the other hand, a concentrated mind is attentive to an object unbrokenly. The mind that has been concentrated can remain focused on its object without any distraction. And this makes the mind soft and serene. The concentrated mind is very calm, tranquil, and peaceful. Therefore, we need to develop concentration in the practice, and for that, we need to observe objects continuously with effort and aim. So now here you might think that we have been practicing here for already 10, 11 days. Do we not gain any concentration? Because the mind is not very calm and peaceful yet. There are so many thoughts, plannings, wanderings occurring one after another, almost non-stop. That means, do I not have any concentration at all? So you might be thinking that way. And there may be many doubts occurring in the mind. So here we should understand what type of concentration is developed in Vipassana practice. In Vipassana meditation, we have many physical and mental objects to observe. We apply an effort to observe those objects. As the effort and mindfulness is not so strong yet, the mind wanders quite often. We do not feel the mind concentrated, still and steady. So we think that there is no concentration at all. But in each observation of physical and mental phenomena, there occurs concentration, moment after moment. In Vipassana meditation, in each noting of the object, there is concentration that occurs just for a moment. This type of concentration is called momentary concentration because just it lasts for a moment only. And so a yogi doesn't feel that there is concentration because it occurs only for a moment. And a yogi cultivates concentration momentarily. In Vipassana practice, yogis do not choose one particular object to meditate on, but he focuses his attention on any physical or mental object that comes to the attention of him, that is predominant to him during meditation. So he continues to concentrate on any obvious physical and mental phenomena that appears, and thus he develops a level of concentration called momentary concentration. This momentary concentration lasts for a moment, so it seems very weak, no power at all. So a meditator may think that how can this momentary concentration help to arouse knowledges? So here, a meditator should understand about the rope made by jute. In one rope, many fibers of jute are woven to create a rope. If we take out each fiber, we can break it very easily. But when each single fiber is woven together to create strong jute ropes, it becomes strong and now it is not easy to break. In the same way, though this momentary concentration lasts for a moment and it seems very weak, not strong, but if this concentration occurs continuously, it becomes very strong. It has the ability to suppress the 5 hindrances to a significant degree. Therefore, momentary concentration is believed to be sufficient for a meditator to continue with insight meditation in order to develop insight knowledges into the reality of physical and mental phenomena. So this type of concentration momentary concentration is called Khanika Samadhi, Pali, and this concentration is developed in Vipassana. So to develop concentration, a yogi simply directs mindfulness to the different psychophysical phenomena with the help of effort and aim. He just has to maintain a continuous mindfulness on the objects without clinging to the object or without rejecting to it. As the observation goes on continually, concentration becomes stronger moment after moment until it becomes established phenomena changing constantly. Though the object changes persistently, the noting mind remains steady and still. And when there is a flow of this momentary concentration, it becomes capable of suppressing the hindrances of sensual desire, ill will, sloth, restlessness, and doubt. Therefore, in each noting of mental and physical objects, a yogi is cultivating this momentary concentration, moment after moment, and gradually it becomes powerful. When this concentration is fully established, the series of insight knowledge will arise, such as the knowledge of discerning mental and physical phenomena, their conditionality, their permanent suffering and non-self, and also other knowledge. Eventually, there arises path and fruition knowledge. Therefore, during the course of intensive Vipassana practice, a yogi has to try their best to observe every presently arising objects so that mindfulness develops and also concentration. The noting mind becomes calm and collected, and it is free of hindrances. The mind becomes very clear and pure. Whatever is noted and observed, he sees it clearly and distinctly. That is why the Buddha has urged the monks that monks develop and cultivate samadhi concentration. One who is calm, stable, and concentrated knows and sees the things as they are. So it is mandatory to develop concentration to discern the ultimate truth. So in order to develop insight knowledges, a meditator must observe the psychophysical phenomena meticulously, precisely, and respectfully. If he practices without any interruption, concentration will be developed in momentary basis. When that momentary concentration connects each other, it becomes so powerful and so strong that it can keep the mental hindrances aside, keeps the mind calm, still, and steady. A meditator feels very peaceful serene and tranquil. As concentration functions as the unifier of the associated dhammas in the object, the mind remained calm and collected on that object. Then the real natures of the objects are discerned by a meditator. So may you all be able to develop and cultivate right concentration, achieve the highest goal.